Assalamu alaikum. Now we will study part 2 of our unit 5th, that is security management, that include various topics like security management concepts and principles. Today we will study the abstraction and security policy or information security, the principle of hiding unnecessary implementation detail while exposing only the essential feature needed by user or other system. It simplifies complex system and reduces the chances of security vulnerability by limiting direct access to internal components of the system. It is used for efficiency. A security principle that allow user or program to interact with a system through simplified interface without knowing how the underlying processes work. The importance of abstraction include improve system security by hiding sensitive implementation detail from the user, reduce the attack surface by preventing unauthorized access to internal mechanism. These are being abstracted. Make system easier to use and manage. Help developer design secure and modular applications. Abstraction simplifies security by enabling you to assign security control to a group of objects collected by type or function. For example, we are going to withdraw money from ATM. When we insert our card and give them a password and select the desired amount, we withdraw the money from the bank. But we didn't know what is ongoing process behind this all activities. That is hide from the user. That is called abstraction. Data hidings. Data hiding is exactly what it sounds like, preventing data from being discovered or disclosed or accessed by a subject. Keeping a database from being accessed by unauthorized visitor as a form of data hiding, as restricting a subject at a lower classification level from accessing data at a higher classification level. Preventing an application from accessing hardware directly is also a form of data hiding. Data hiding is often a key element in security control as well as in programming. Next is encryption. Encryption is the art and science of hiding the meaning or intent of a communication from unintended recipient. Next topic is encryption. Encryption is the art and science of hiding the meaning or intent of a communication from unintended recipient. Encryption can take many forms and be applied to every type of electronic communication, including text, audio, and video file, as well as application themselves. Encryption is very important element in security controls, especially in regard to transmission of data between two systems. There are various strengths of encryption, each of which is designed and are appropriate for a specific use or purpose. Next topic is change control management. Change in secure environment can introduce loopholes, overlaps, missing objects, and oversight that can lead to new vulnerabilities. The only way to maintain security in the face of change is to systematically manage change. This usually involves sensitive or extensive planning, testing, logging, auditing, and monitoring of activities related to security control and mechanism. The record of changes to an environment are then used to identify agent of change, whether Those agents are objects, subjects, programs, communication pathways, or even the network itself. The goal of change management is to ensure that any change doesn't lead to reduce or compromise system security. Change management is also responsible for making it possible to roll back any change to a previous secure state. Change management is also a requirement for system complying with the Information Technology Security Evaluation Criteria (ITSEC) classification. However, change management can be implemented on any system despite of the level of security. Ultimately, change management improves the security of an environment by protecting implemented security from unintentional, tangible, tensional, or unintentional, or tangential, or affected dis, dis diminishment. Change management is only a requirement for system complying with the International Technology Security Evaluation and Criteria (ITSEC) classification. However, change management can be implemented on any system despite the level of security. Ultimately, change management improves the security of an environment by protecting implemented security from unintentional, tangential, and affected diminishment. While an important goal of change management is to prevent unwanted reduction and security, its primary purpose is to make all changes subject to detailed documentation and auditing, and thus able to be reviewed and scrutinized by the management. Change should be used to oversee alteration to every aspect of the system, including hardware configuration and operating system and application softwares. It should include in design, development, testing, evaluation, implementation, distribution, evaluation, growth, ongoing operation, and modification. It requires a detailed inventory of every component and configuration. It also requires the collection and maintenance of complete documentation for every system component, from hardware to software, and from configuration setting to security features as well. The change control process of configuration or change management has several goals and requirements. Implement change in a monitored and orderly manner. Change are always controlled. A formalized testing process is included to verify that a change produce expected result. All changes can be reserved. Users are informed of changes before they occur to prevent loss of productivity. The effort of change are systematically analyzed. Negative impact of change on capabilities, functionalities, and performance is minimized. Next is data classification. Primarily means by which data is protected based on its need for secrecy, sensitivity, and confidentiality. Inefficient to treat all data the same when designing and implementing a security system. Some data items need more security than others. Securing everything at a low security level means sensitive data is easily accessible. Securing everything at a high security level is too expensive and restricts access to unclassified, non-critical data. used to determine how much effort, money, and resources are allowed to protect the data and control access to it. The primary objective of data classification scheme is to formalize and stratify the process of securing data based on assigned labels of importance and sensitivity. Data classification is used to provide security mechanism for the storage, processing, and transfer of data. It also addresses how data is removed from the system and destroyed. The following are the benefits of using a data classification scheme. It demonstrates an organization commitment to protecting valuable resources and assets. It assists in identifying those assets that are most critical or valuable to the organization. It lends credence to the selection of protection mechanism. It is often required for regulatory compliance and legal restriction. It helps to define access level, type of authorized uses, and parameters for classification and declassification, and our destruction of no longer valuable resources. The criteria by which data is classified varies based on the organization performing and classification. However, there are numerous generalities that can be gleaned from common or standardized classification system. Usefulness of data, timelines of data, value or cost of data, maturity or age of the data, lifetime of data, when it expire, association with personnels. Data disclosure damage assessment, how disclosure of the data would affect the organization. Data modification damage assessment, how modification of data would affect the organization. National security implication of data, authorized access to data, who has access to the data, restriction from the data, who is restricted from the data, maintenance and monitoring of data, who should maintain and monitor the data, storage of data. To implement a classification scheme, there are 7 major steps or phases that you must take. First, identify the custodian and define their responsibility. Second is specify the evaluation criteria of how the information will be classified and labeled. Third is classify and label each resources within the realm. The owner conduct this step, but it should be reviewed by the supervisors. Fourth is document any exception to the classification policy that are discovered and integrated them into the evaluation criteria. Fifth is select the security controls that will be applied to each classification level to provide the necessary level of protection. Six is specify the procedures for classifying or declassifying resources and the procedure for transferring custody of the resources to an external entity. Seventh is create an enterprise-wide awareness program to instruct all personnel about the classification system. Declassification is often overlooked when designing a classification system or documenting the usage procedures. Declassification is required once an asset no longer warrants or need the protection of its currently assigned classification or sensitivity level. In other words, if the asset was new, it would be assigned a lower level sensitivity label than it currently is assigned. When you fail to classify or declassify assets as needed, you waste security resources and degrade the value and protection of the higher sensitivity levels. The two common classification schemes are government or military classification and commercial business or private sector classification. There are 5 levels of government military classification listed highest to lowest. First is top secret. The highest level of classification, unauthorized disclosure of top secret data will have drastic effect and cause grave damage to national security. Secret level, use for data and are restricted nature. Unauthorized disclosure of data classified as secret will have significant effect and cause critical damage to international and national security. Confidential is used for data of confidential nature. Unauthorized disclosure of data classified as confidential will have noticeable effect and cause serious damage to national security. This classification is used for all data between secret and sensitive but unclassified classification. Sensitive but unclassified, used for data of sensitive or private nature, but disclosure of this data would not cause significant damage. Unclassified, the lowest level of classification used for data that is neither sensitive nor classified. Disclosure of unclassified data doesn't compromise confidentiality nor cause any noticeable damage to the system. There are 4 levels of commercial, business or private sector classification listed highest to lowest. Confidential, the highest level of classification used for data that is extremely sensitive and for internal user use only. A significant negative impact could occur for the company if confidential data is disclosed. Second is private, used for data that is of private or personal nature and intended for internal use only. A significant negative impact could occur for the company or individual if private data is disclosed. Sensitive data, used for data that is more classified than public data. A negative impact could occur for the company if sensitive data is disclosed. Fourth is public, the lowest level of classification used for all data that doesn't fit in one of the higher classification level and its disclosure doesn't have any serious negative impact on the organization. Another classification often used in the commercial business private sector is proprietary. Proprietary data is a form of confidential information. If proprietary data is disclosed, it can have drastic effect on the competitive edge of an organization. Communication security and vulnerability countermeasure include design to detect, prevent, and even correct data transportation errors. That means that integrity protection to sustain the secrecy of network while supporting the need to exchange and share data. Communication security covers a wide range of issues related to the transportation of electronic information. Transportation may be between systems on opposite side of the planet or between the system on the same business network, local area network. Data become vulnerable to plenty of threats to its confidentiality, integrity, and availability once it is involved in any mean of transportation. Threat can be reduced or eliminated with the appropriate countermeasure. Thank you for your attention. This concludes our part 2 of unit security management concept and principle. Please review this topic and study it. These further material on the YouTube links are available to you to study further these topics. This conclude. Allah Hafiz.